Today is Monday, February 27th, 2023, and it's now 7 p.m. This meeting of the Prosper ISD Board of Trustees is hereby called to order pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Representing our quorum tonight are Kelly Cavender, Bill Beavers, Jordan Dial, Dina Dixon, Garrett Linker, and myself, Deborah Smith. Mr. Beavers, would you please lead us in prayer?
Yes, ma'am. Please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, and thank you so much for all that you've done for us. Father, just as we are pressing on in this part of the semester, we thank you for allowing the students to just to go to school and just everything that we have to offer in the district, Lord, that they are taking part in right now. Father, we ask for safety and security for our students, our teachers, our administration, our community as they head into spring break time. Lord, as people travel, we pray that you would just bring them back here safely to us. Father, tonight for the board, we ask for wisdom and discernment, as always, as we weigh the matters before the district. We pray all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you all for joining us for tonight's meeting. As always, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, which can be found in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. All of our voting must be in public, but we can privately discuss certain items, including but not limited to matters regarding individual employees, individual students, land acquisition and real estate, school safety and security, and matters requiring legal advice. However, after that private discussion, any final vote must be in complete view of the public. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, the agenda for tonight's meeting was posted for the public to view at least 72 hours before the meeting. Mr. Beavers, would you please share with us some upcoming and important dates?
Yes, ma'am. I see a group of students here this evening are probably very excited about the March 6th through 10th that we have as it is spring break, so enjoy y'all's time off. March 20th is the next regular school board meeting. April 6th is the last day to register to vote. April 7th is a school holiday. And then May 6th is the election for local elections.
Okay, thank you. I hear we have some awesome people to recognize tonight.
Yes, we do. So many great things going on in our district. And so first, I'd like to invite Jacob Wimberly and Luke Sitz to come up to the front so we can recognize these two great swim and dive students. Sir. Very excited to be able to go down to Austin to see these young men compete, but also with our other swim and dive students. I will say that probably with Luke, I'm going to need a little bit of help. There's a young man who was diving, and I was like, well, he's pretty good. Like every time he's going in, he's warming up, like straight in, no splash. It was incredible. And so I told Mr. Mouton and Coach Martyr, they were sitting with me, and I said, oh, God, watch this kid. This is incredible. He belly flopped when he went in. So like, they were like, really? So are you going to help us? So now the swim and dive coaches have been sending me emails saying, could you help us maybe with diving? And I'm like, very fun. So, but I will tell you, the way that these two young men represented us in Austin, you would have been so incredibly proud. But not only the two of them, certainly the medals, the bling is always nice to bring back. But our students continue to shine, and there was such a sense of pride every time on that board when it be Luke Sitz, Rock Hill, Prosper High School, or Jacob Wimberly, Prosper High School. It's a really cool thing to be able to hear that, and I just want both of you to know how very proud we are of you and the way that you represented our great district. But I also want to say thank you to your parents. If you're here, Mr. Wimberly's here. Very good, Mr. Sitz. Because I know the amount of hours that you've given to both of these young men to get them to this point. And we want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing Prosper ISD, and thank you for having them compete and swim and dive in Prosper ISD athletics. Because we know you have probably other choices that you may have said, hey, we're not going to do it this way. We're going to do it a different way. So thank you for giving back to your school community. These two young men make us better, not only athletically, but academically. So thank you. Congratulations. So next up, we have Carrie Coy. She's gonna love coming up. It's one of Carrie's favorite things is to be in the spotlight. Yes, you're home. So this is Carrie Coy, and she works in our business office, specifically business and finance, payroll. But I will tell you, from the moment that I met Carrie Coy, there was something very special about her. So much so that I decided that, you know what, I think I'm going to spend some time with her. Just let's mentor, let's talk, because I could see she had such a bright future and so many things ahead. And I wanted to make sure she stayed in Prosper ISD because she's so incredible. And luckily enough, we've got her husband too, so it's like a bonus still. Because they're both pretty great educators and great people. But we're excited today to be able to recognize Ms. Croy for her award from TASPO. She was just recently recognized as RISE, which is one of the business professionals that is on the rise in that area of finance in the school setting. And so to have her chosen for that is a huge honor for Prosper ISD. So just like with Luke and Jacob, to have our name out there in the world, to let them know how many incredible people we have. The main thing though is we've got to make sure that they don't recruit her, because that's the problem with people win awards. People start trying to recruit them, so we got to keep her here. And I will say this is 2 years running for Prosper ISD because Dr. Kyle Quinn won it last year. He then passed the torch to Mr. Croy this year, and this is out of the entire state can put in try to get this award and to be selected. And so for her to be chosen is a high honor, not only for her, but also for our great school district and represents our students in such an exceptional way. So thank you. All right, so more awards coming to us. So this is a pretty cool deal. You may or may not know that we are one of the best communities for music education in Prosper ISD, and that's been 5 years consecutive that we've been able to obtain that award. But now we are a premier community for our theater, right? And so we want to make sure that we are honoring our best students. And I see that I have Miss Amy and Miss Kirkley here tonight. If y'all will come up, do you have any other theater teachers? Oh, students, of course. Come on.
Since they came.
Yes, they came.
That's awesome.
No, they're really coming this whole thing in costume and on stage. But this whole thing is not coming from here, right? So do the makeup, do all the things. Perfect. So don't move. So if any of you have ever gone to a performance in Prosper ISD, whether it's at Rockville High School or Prosper High School, these kids will absolutely blow you away. I have had parents after community members say, I took my child to the performance and it was absolutely like watching adults do a show. So I know that that is a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, right, to get perfection. And I know what Ms. Kirkley and Ms. Haney expect, which they keep the standard high for each of you so that you can reach those high levels and that we can get awards like the one tonight. So thank you so much for all that you're doing and all that you give back. Now there'll be an impromptu performance by each of you. Congratulations, we're very proud of each and every one of you. Thank you. And we could not do what we do in Prosper ISD for our students and our staff and our community without the just incredible support of the Prosper Education Foundation. They're here tonight. Elizabeth Johnson is their executive director, and we have many, many board members with us. So why don't y'all come up so everybody can see you? They don't, Ms. Johnson said she doesn't want to talk, she just wants to give a check. I just want to know how I'm supposed to get her to that tube at the bank. Yeah. Are you interested?
What a great group of people.
So just so you're aware, I'm sorry, I do want to say a few things. The icing on the cake sits right here or stands right here before you. So no matter what it is, what our dream is for our kids and for what's happening in our schools, they always answer the call, and they do it in such an incredible way, and they are so determined to make sure that our kids never go without having that extra, which our community, our parents have come to expect, and it's why people move to Prosper ISD. And the Prosper Education Foundation is a key component of that. They are servants with a servant's heart. They go above and beyond. You will see them out and about at events, making sure that they're engaging in a lot of countless hours that are volunteer hours that they're not getting paid for, but they do it for our children and for our staff. And so thank you so much to each and every one of you for what you do for our district.
Well, that was such a great night, a celebration for the students and Prosper Education Foundation and our staff. We're just so appreciative of all that you do. We're going to take just a short intermission so that our students can go. I know you guys have had a long Monday, so we just want to let you know that you're free to go now.
Except for FFA, don't
Except for
move.
FFA, you stay.
You're not off the hook yet.
But everybody else, we'll just take a short intermission so they can leave. So the next item on the agenda is public comment, and we want to, over agenda items, we want to thank everyone who speaks during these times of public comment. We love working with you to help maintain transparency, create trust, and continue the partnership between our staff and our families in our communities. Please know that reaching out to board members directly to have a dialogue about your thoughts or concerns continues to be the most effective way to partner with us in our shared goal of helping children succeed. However, we will continue to honor your right to speak at these meetings even though we are unable to respond to you. To that end, we want to streamline our process for collecting public comments. In January, we began asking that people who would like to speak during public comment sign up by noon on the day of the meeting, and we've had a great response using that form, so thank you very much. All public comments should be limited to school district governance and operations. If you have a specific concern related to an employee of the district or specific student, you may utilize the district's grievance procedures provided in board policies FNG, DGBA, or GF. Please note that the board will not respond to comments or questions raised during public comment. Pursuant to Prosper ISD Board Policies BED Local, audience participation at a board meeting is limited to the portion of the meeting designated to receive public comment. At all other times during a board meeting, the audience is not permitted to enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board. When necessary for effective meeting management, or to accommodate large numbers of individuals wishing to address the board, the presiding officer may make adjustments to public comment procedures, including establishing an overall time limit for public comment and adjusting the time allotted to each speaker. However, no individual shall be given less than 1 minute to make comments. Based on the number of individuals who have signed up for the public agenda comment this evening, each individual will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. Additionally, I think it is important to address the board's expectations for decorum during this public comment time. While the board certainly encourages members of our community to speak about any school governance or operations topic during public comment, and while we know that no one approaches the board unless they care deeply and passionately about the matter they bring before us, we ask that each speaker conduct him or herself in a polite and civil way when addressing the board. The board will show each speaker courtesy and respect while he or she is speaking, and we simply ask that of each speaker show the same to the board. Should any speaker disregard this request and become a disruption to our public meeting, I will be forced to prematurely end that speaker's time at the podium. Additionally, should any audience member or group of audience members become a disruption to our meeting, including cheering or applause, I will be forced to remove that person or group from the meeting. Thank you in advance for observing these expectations, and the Board of Trustees appreciates your active participation in the school district. Finally, it is important to the board that we hear from parents and other individuals in our community. To that end, when each speaker gets to the podium, we will ask that you please tell us your name and whether you live within the Prosper ISD boundaries. Mr. Beavers, we'll allow 3 minutes. We have one speaker under the agenda item tonight. Will Jeanette Church please approach the podium? You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Wait just a minute, Ms. Church. I don't want you to be interrupted.
Okay.
All right, you're set.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Jeanette Church and I do live in Prosper. As I've said previously, I'm a PISD teacher and mother of 2 students. Tonight I wanted to address the board because I thought that you would be discussing a resolution on the bullet-resistant shield grant. After looking up what the grant covers, I wanted to share my support for the Prosper ISD Police Department and the obvious benefit to be gained from applying for this grant. I came to the district as a teacher in 2019. Part of our new hire training included Dr. Bradley's famous "Don't Prop Doors" speech, which led into a brief history of why and how the PISD Police Department came to be under the leadership of Dr. Watkins. To say I was impressed would be a major understatement. Coming from a district south of here, which outsources campus safety to overworked local police departments, I saw a resource officer 2 to 3 times a year in that district. I want to repeat that. I saw our assigned resource officer 2 to 3 times a year. So to learn that PISD not only had an officer on every campus full-time, but multiple at the high schools and their own police department that had jurisdiction over every child in the district, it left me awestruck. As a teacher, I can tell you that every educator I know has a plan in place for how they would respond to a real lockdown situation, knowing our biggest priority is protecting our students. It was also clear to me on day one that Prosper ISD does as well. I thought about previous headlines of student gunmen who returned to their schools to invoke tragedy and wondered if those headlines would have been different had those student gunmen known there was an officer on every campus in the district. I'll also never forget the last thing Dr. Bradley told us that day. He had spent a great deal of time introducing the new teachers to Prosper's security measures, but through a cracking and shaky voice, he acknowledged that no matter how hard he worked to keep them safe from a shooter, he struggled with the torment of losing students who took their own lives. That led into a conversation about Hope Squad and the proactive efforts the district was beginning that year to help save as many student lives as possible. In recruiting teacher friends from that district south of here, These are the two biggest selling points I lead with, and time after time, my friends are amazed. So tonight, I wanted to say thank you. And while we all hope not to ever need to use these, I'm glad the district is being proactive enough to go after this grant from the state so that we have them just in case. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the rest of our agenda items. Dr. Ferguson, can you please give us a little bit of information on our CTE programs, which includes the FFA program that we'll hear about?
Yes, so some may or may not know about FFA and Prosper ISD. There's a lot of leadership that's involved, but there's also, of course, the animals that we have in our ag barn, and you also graciously approved money to make upgrades and improve that facility for our students and for our staff down there. So thank you for that. But it's also a CTE course, which is Career and Technical Education, that our kids take. And so I love walking into the schools and seeing plants everywhere because those are projects. I love going down to the ag barn and hearing the chickens listen to an AM radio. It's really neat. I've learned all about why you do that. So Miss Loving actually is our lead because this is one of those programs that's really near and dear to my heart because it represents both of our schools and they come together and they work together from both Rock Hill and Prosper High School. Probably my favorite moment of the year is when Mr. Jones wore a suit to the ag barn at the Collin County Youth Show. That was a moment because he didn't know what to wear. So that was fun. So I'd like to ask Miss Loving actually to come forward and share a little bit. And then I think we have some special presentations too, or speaking parts by some of our great student leaders.
Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. Good evening. My name is Jordan Loving, and I serve as the lead agricultural science teacher here in Prosper ISD. As February is National Career and Technical Education Month and FFA Week just concluded, I would like to provide you with an update of one of our many great CTE programs here in Prosper ISD, our agricultural science program and our Prosper FFA chapters. We're proud to have over 700 students enrolled in an agriculture class and 187 FFA members from many schools in the district. The president and vice presidents of Prosper FFA and Rock Hill FFA will be reporting on different aspects of our program.
Good evening. My name is Josie Claggett, and I'm the president of Rock Hill FFA. Within the Agricultural Sciences pathway, students are able to take courses in veterinary science, plant science, and agricultural mechanics. We provide opportunities for students to gain real-world experience through their class coursework by earning up to 6 industry-level certifications and creating learning opportunities where students can actively participate in their education. For example, students in our Vet Science Practicum course complete internships with veterinarians to master the skills required to earn their student-certified vet assistant credentials. Students for the plant science pathway are currently growing a variety of plants in our school greenhouses for our annual FFA plant sale. Our floral departments stay busy with arrangement of the month clubs and working with clients on events and banquets.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Cavender, and I serve as the president of the Prosper FFA chapter. Through participation in FFA, students are able to compete with knowledge and skills that they have gained in class. These contests include leadership and career development events and speaking events. In the past year, Prosper ISD FFA chapters have earned a national champion entomology student, 4 state-level placing teams, 7 area placing teams, and an immeasurable amount of student growth through participation in these competitions.
Good evening. My name is Maria Silaviva, and I'm the Vice President of Rock Hill FFA. Another great opportunity for our students is participating in supervised agricultural experiences, which allow them to participate in agriculture by raising a marketable product, work in an agricultural position, or serve their community through their agricultural knowledge. One of our most popular experiences is raising a market animal project through FFA. Because of the great support of our community, administration, and school board, we have been able to continuously grow and expand this program to meet students' interests. For example, more students have been able to show poultry, sheep, goat, and swine animal projects as a result of new installations of pens and equipment in our barn. As our program continues to grow, we greatly appreciate your plans to allow us to continue adapt to build our facilities to meet the demand. Our plan to build a new swine barn and adapt existing facilities to match our growing programs will have an immeasurable impact on student learning and success. Your support with ag facility improvements has opened up more opportunities for student participation in the show animal program.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Marr, and I'm currently serving as the Vice President of the Prosper FFA chapter. FFA creates leadership opportunities for students by serving at the multiple levels of our organization. Our student officer teams plan and facilitate all chapter operations, which allows for our members to gather for personal development and fellowship while advocating for agriculture. We currently have 2 members serving as District 4 FFA officers and continuously have members who strive for having new opportunities in leadership.
Thank you, FFA officers. Our student leaders have gone above and beyond to grow our programs in Prosper ISD, and we're excited to see the legacy that they have inspired through their work. We sincerely thank you for your time tonight and continued support so that we are able to serve our community through passion for agricultural education and FFA programs.
Good. Ms. Loving, can we have all of our FFA students come to the front to take a picture? Great job by all of you. One thing I want to note, which I think is a pretty cool fact that most people don't know, is Miss Loving is actually a Prosper High School graduate from Prosper ISD, and she came back to her community to be an ag teacher, and she was a highly successful ag student, FFA student in Prosper. So, pretty cool thing. Love the jackets.
They're cool.
President Smith, y'all want to come up? One more. Y'all listen.
"24/7, 365 is what these kids do. Animals don't take the day off, do they? Thank y'all for being here. I know that you probably would love to stay for the remainder of the meeting, and we would love to have you here, but you certainly can exit at this time if you want to do so. Well, that was a quick decision.
Thank y'all. Dr. Ferguson, would you please give us an update on our enrollment?
Yes, so as of today, we are at 25,428 students. And just last month, we were at 25,280, so that's an add of 148 kids in a month's time. So we still continue to grow and add students and opportunities to our very growing school district.
Thank you. Now it's time for construction update on projects that were funded out of the 2019 bond referendum that was overwhelmingly approved by our supportive community.
Just a reminder for everyone, I know this is known to almost everyone, I would think, but we are a growing community. We did move this project up a year. Walnut Grove was supposed to open in 2024, but thankful to the Pogue team for really answering the call and stepping forward to make sure that that building is built and on time. August, it's coming. It's looking good. I've got full faith in you.
Okay, Liliana.
And Dan Christie Elementary. Just a reminder, we broke ground on this one and started construction in about September, but we are on schedule for completion for an August opening. And Brenda Calhoun Early Childhood School had the unique opportunity with Dr. Hickey, Ms. Scoggin, Ms. Gannon, and we went and walked, Mr. Shirley, we went and walked the building, and it was pretty neat to be able to see. I love the design of having the actual play area, their recess area in the center of the building, just for a safety aspect is, I think, going to be a game changer, especially with those young 3- and 4-year-olds. Daniel Jones Middle School that sits adjacent to Rock Hill High School. Obviously, just getting started on that project. You've probably been able to see that as you've driven down Coy.
I just want to say thank you again to Huckabee and Pogue for how far you've come with these schools. It's amazing, and we just hope that the weather holds up for us and you guys can finish everything up. They just look amazing, so. Board members, you received in your packet information about the class size waivers. If you remember, we approved all future class waivers in our August meeting, so this is just information for you. And now we'll move on to 8A. We'll consider the action items for tonight's meeting. We are on item 8A of the agenda now to consider and take possible action on the guaranteed maximum price for elementary 18.
I have Dr. Bradley coming up to share the good news, right?
That's right.
That's what he's bringing tonight.
It's becoming more cost-effective by the day. We've, as you well know, we've seen some extreme inflation over the last year, and so excited to stand before you tonight and ask for a guaranteed maximum price for elementary 18, which you know is going just north of Hayes Middle School, for $36,809,563. It's a lot of money, but it came in substantially under what we were expecting, as we thought it would be somewhere around $38 million based on the bids we had seen for elementary 16 and 17 and the continued inflation costs that we were running into. So just a couple of things I want to mention to you about it. Elementary 18 is about $384 a square foot. That's up a little bit from elementary 17, but again, not near what we feared. There is always some unique things with each building. We are carrying a $7 million allowance in here for the site package, but want to remind you, we're going to do this just like 17. We're going to have another bid date where the subs will have to bid that. We'll bring that back. So you'll see last time in 17, we carried a $6.5 million allowance. And after we bid it, it came in about $820,000 under that. So that money obviously is ours and be returned to us. And we expect the same thing will happen on this elementary. We've had a lot of we've been moving so fast on this elementary, had a lot of discussions with the city of Frisco about where the road is going. We have to build a portion of Hillcrest. And so there's a lot of variables that were in play. It sounds like, after I had a conversation with our civil engineer today, that we've gotten that mostly worked out on the road side. So I think we will see some substantial savings coming down from that $7 million allowance once we bid it and we actually now know what we're going to be required to build by the city of Frisco. So the last thing I just want to point out is as we looked at these numbers, I appreciate the bid date that we had on February 16th. We had a lot of coverage. We had a lot of companies bid, which is always to our benefit. And the encouraging thing about it was many of the smaller items went up in cost, but concrete and steel actually went down a little bit. And that's the first time we've seen that in probably 6 years of that number going down. And so it was not a huge amount, but it does appear that maybe our inflation is not straight up anymore. Maybe it's tempered a little bit. And so those were encouraging signs for us. But yes, putting before you tonight a GMP of $36,809,563.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Here, I'll do it. Dr. Bradley, I've got a quick question as
Yes,
we're waiting. Knowing that the big ticket items are slowing their growth a little bit, do you think that these smaller ticket items might do that as well here in the future? Is there anything that would give you hope on that side?
I hope so. I mean, the guys from Pogue are here tonight. They may, well, I'll answer for them. I hope. I was having a conversation today and had a subcontractor tell me it's the first time in the last 3 months that they're not worried about having supply for lighting and things of that nature. That's not the case for everything. There's still badge readers and some things like that we're having a little difficult time getting to. But it seems like our supply chain issues on the larger things that we order all the time, I'm not saying we're out of the woods yet, but I think we're starting to see some of that come back on board, which should help the pricing. So I'm encouraged by that. We obviously have some big jobs coming up with high school 4 and middle school 6. And so it was encouraging to see the steel and concrete numbers go down a little bit. I'm hopeful that the volume of these next 2 jobs will see some of that cost savings.
Good, thank you.
So I move that the board approve the guaranteed maximum price for elementary 18 for $36,809,563 as presented by administration.
Thank you, Garrett. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kelly. Is there any other discussion? Is everybody comfortable? Okay. All those in favor? That's 6. No opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0. Okay, item 8B, we are on item 8B for the agenda to consider and take possible action on the missed school days waiver. Is there anything you'd like to add with that?
No, obviously appreciate the parents adjusting and bringing kids to school because we had to make up the 2 instructional days. We still have April 10th that we'll have our students come on that day. It was going to be a day off for them. But we're still a little bit short on minutes. Just a reminder for everyone, it's not days, it's instructional minutes, and the requirement by the state of Texas is 75,600 minutes per student for their instructional time. And so this missed school day waiver will allow us to waive some of that missed time because we're out of days to make up. And hopefully this is the end of bad weather, right? Hopefully, surely there won't be. But in the event, then we'll certainly come back to you. But for this time, this is going to take care of those missed minutes that we're short on.
Okay, and just as a reminder, April 7th is a holiday, school holiday, so
Yes.
they'll be
So
here
that
on the 10th.
Monday, April 10th, we are in school.
Okay. May I have a
Thank you.
motion?
I move that the board accept and approve the waiver for missed school days as presented by administration.
Thank you, Dina. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jordan. Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? That's all of us. Any opposed? The motion passes by a vote of 6-0. We're on item 8C of the agenda to consider and take possible action on the resolution authorizing Collin County Appraisal District to act as agent in regarding to filing a protest against Comptroller's 2022 property value study for Prosper ISD.
Yeah, so what we received is that Collin County, that we're outside the competence interval, and that can have a great impact on us because we're based on our students and our ADA and not just enrollment numbers, right? The kids have to be in the seats. And so we have to look at this in a long-term setting too. In 3 years, we don't want to be in a situation where we were under and then we're having to pay money back to the state. And so we appreciate Collin County Appraisal District partnering, not only with our district, but many districts across this area because it happened to all of us. It was not just a one-off of Prosper only. So they're helping us with filing this protest to the comptroller. So we would ask that you all would approve that. Certainly, we don't want to write a check later for that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ferguson. May I have a motion?
I move that the board authorize the Collin County Appraisal District to act as an agent in regards to filing a protest against Comptroller's 2022 property value study for Prosper ISD.
Thank you, Kelly. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Just to, I guess, to highlight Denton County, so this is only Collin County and part of our district makes up Denton, and so we've not received any information from them as of yet, so we may be coming back with something for Denton.
Okay. All those in favor? That's 6. No opposed. The motion passes by a vote of 6-0. Okay, we're now on item 8D of the agenda to consider and take possible action on a lease agreement with T-Mobile in partnership with the town of Prosper concerning 210 square feet of property adjacent to the natatorium. Is there anything you would like to add on that?
No,
one?
it's a great cost savings for us because they'll actually pay us to have this on property. Let me get my notepad so I can give you kind of the rundown real quick for the community. So it's going to sit right behind the natatorium if you know where that's located. They'll pay us $1,500 a month, so not a ton of money, but some money. So that's $18,000 a year, and then our term is for a 5-year period. And then once that, if there's an extension of that, then they'll increase that by 15% on the payment. So it's not going to be something that's visible to the community because it will sit behind that facility, and to the soccer fields are back there, and then kind of the railroad track. So it's kind of a I don't want to say dead zone because it's a cell phone tower, but as far as the land, it's not really usable. So it's a great way for us to make a little bit of money.
Okay, great. May I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the lease agreement with T-Mobile in partnership with the town of Prosper concerning 210 square feet of property adjacent to the natatorium as presented by administration.
Thank you, Jordan. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Garrett. Is there any further discussion?
We're all excited about more cell phone coverage in the town of Prosper.
Absolutely.
True.
Okay,
We can do our part.
all those in favor? That's all 6. Any opposed? The motion passes by a vote of 6-0. We are on item 8E, the agenda now to consider and take possible action regarding bullet-resistant shield grant program resolution. Dr. Ferguson, is there?
Yeah, so we're very thankful to the state. They provided grant money for us in the area of defense and safety, and I'm very proud also of the work that you all have done as a board to really equip us with everything that we need. And like Ms. Church spoke about, having an officer on every campus is certainly a huge benefit to our students and our staff and our community here. Because of the grant, it's a 2-year grant, so it's 2023 to 2025, the money that they have given, but then there are certain specifications, and so our team sat down, looked at what is it that we don't have in order to be able to meet those specifications of the grant. And so the bullet-resistant shield grant, that was a piece of that we needed to do. I'm not going to tell you where it's going, just know that it will be installed, and that it's about a 2 to 3 month process. You will not be able to know where it is. It's not visible to the eye, so you're not going to see like a film over any of our facilities that you're like, well, what is that new thing? It'll look just like glass, like normal. Okay.
Okay.
I will share a little bit about our school safety. Takes people working together in a safe and secure building, implementing practice and procedures to be effective. We hold monthly drills led by our police officers in cooperation with our students and staff so that everyone knows what to do in the event of a crisis. Our community has provided their support through their passage of bonds to pay for additional layers of technology and security in our buildings. Cameras, secure vestibules, controlled entrances in our campuses, review and practice their safety plans so that our daily routines support a safe and orderly environment. It takes all of us working together to create a safe place for our students. And I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that our counselors and teachers and staff work tirelessly to ensure that our students have the mental health support they need. There are Hope Squads led by our students and through small group activities, and that we live our daily lives with empathy and concern for one another. For it is my hope that all these layers of security that we provide on our campuses are never necessary, because the world we are building is filled with kindness and compassion for one another. We're glad that the state of Texas is making these funds available to us, but know that we will always take care of the health and safety of our students and staff. And I can never say it enough, but certainly to all of our officers, they're incredible people who do incredible things on our campus well outside the scope of their job and their responsibility. So I want to thank all of the officers for what they do, because you're our first line. And I know that many teachers who've come to the district say how safe they feel, especially after what happened in Uvalde. Just because we had an officer on campus, there was an immediate sense of safety. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to read this resolution. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Prosper Independent School District find it in the best interest of the citizens of Prosper, Texas, in all areas within the Prosper ISD boundaries, that the bullet-resistant shield grant program be applied for, submitted to the Public Safety Office, and if granted, operated for the 2022-2023 funding year and beyond. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Prosper Independent School District agrees to provide applicable matching funds, if any, for said project as required by the budget execution order proposed by the Legislative Budget Board and ratified by Governor Abbott for the Public Safety Office Bullet-Resistant Shield Grant application. However, the Office of the Governor has stated that school districts will not be required to match any funds for this grant. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Prosper Independent School District agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of the office or the governor funds, the Board of Trustees of the Prosper Independent School District assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Prosper Independent School District designates the superintendent or designee as the grantee's authorized official. The authorized official is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Prosper Independent School District approves submission of the grant application for the Bullet Resistant Shield Grant Program to the Office of the Governor. May I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the Bullet Resistant Shield Grant Program resolution as presented by administration.
Thank you, Dina.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? That's 6. There aren't any opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0. Okay, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none. May I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Kelly. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jordan. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? That's 6. Any opposed? None. The motion passes with a vote of 6-0. Okay, it's now time for public comment on non-agenda items. The next item on the agenda is public comment. We want to thank everyone who speaks during these times of public comment. We love working with you to help maintain transparency, create trust, and continue the partnership between our staff and our families and communities. Please know that reaching out to the board members directly to have a dialogue about your thoughts or concerns continues to be the most effective way to partner with us in our shared goal of helping children succeed. However, we will continue to honor your right to speak at these meetings even though we are unable to respond to you. To that end, we want to streamline our process for collecting public comments. In January, we began asking that people who would like to speak during public comment sign up by noon on the day at the meeting, and we've had a great response using that form. All public comments should be limited to school district governance and operations. If you have a specific concern related to an employee of the district or a specific student, you may utilize the district's grievance procedures provided in board policies F&G, DGBA, or GF. Please note that the board will not respond to comments or questions raised during public comment. Pursuant to Prosper ISD Board Policy BED Local, audience participation at a board meeting is limited to the portion of the meeting designated to receive public comment. At all other times during a board meeting, the audience is not permitted to enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board. When necessary for effective meeting management or to accommodate large numbers of individuals wishing to address the board, the presiding officer may make adjustments to public comment procedures, including establishing an overall time limit for public comment and adjusting the time allotted to each speaker. However, no individual shall be given less than 1 minute to make comments. Based on the number of individuals who've signed up for public comment this evening, each individual will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. Additionally, I think it's very important to address the board's expectations for decorum during this public comment time. While the board certainly encourages members of our community to speak about any school governance or operations topic during public comment, and while we know that no one approaches the board unless they care deeply and passionately about the matter they bring before us, we ask that each speaker conduct him or herself in a polite and civil way while addressing the board. The board will show each speaker courtesy and respect while he or she is speaking, and we simply ask that each speaker show the same to the board. Should any speaker disregard this request and become a disruption to our public meeting, I will be forced to prematurely end that speaker's time at the podium. Additionally, should any audience member or group of audience members become a disruption to our meeting, including cheering or applause, I will be forced to remove that person or group from the meeting. Thank you in advance for observing these expectations. Okay, so the first, Bill, would you please keep time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the first person on our non-agenda list is Ashley Church. Would you please approach the podium? Would you please state your name and whether or not you live in Prosper ISD boundaries?
My name is Ashley Church, and I do live in Prosper. Good evening. My name is Ashley Church, and I'm in 8th grade at Rogers Middle School. Tonight, I wanted to speak to the board and Dr. Ferguson to thank them for making Hope Squad a priority in our schools. Last year, I had the opportunity to be part of the Rogers Hope Squad. We followed a series of lessons that taught us how to look for peers who needed extra support. We learned the warning signs to watch out for, and we spent our time in class learning empathy and the importance of showing kindness. I knew when I agreed to sign up for Hope Squad that I would be helping other people, but I didn't realize how much it would help me. I struggle with anxiety. I worry about everything, and a lot of times, that worry can turn to sadness. In learning about how to help others, I realized I needed to help myself. Last January, I came home from school one day and told my mom that we had learned about the signs of depression in Hope Squad, and I realized I had all the symptoms. Because of the things I learned in Hope Squad, I was able to talk to my mom and ask her to help me get some help. I started counseling a couple weeks later. It's been over a year since then, and I'm doing so much better, but I still go to counseling every month. I will probably always go to counseling because it helps me feel better about myself and learn ways to love and appreciate myself as I am. I'm grateful for the year I got to learn in Hope Squad because it changed my life. I know that Hope Squad probably costs the district money every year, but I know it changes and saves lives. Thank you for Hope Squad.
Thank you. Good job, Ashley.
Okay, next is Jocelyn Johnson.
My name is Jocelyn, and I live in Prosper. Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Johnson, and I am a sophomore at Rock Hill High School. Tonight, I want to speak to the school board and Dr. Ferguson about how much I love Prosper ISD. I feel so lucky that my family moved here because the opportunities that we are given seem limitless. Dr. Ferguson, I wanted to thank you and the board for creating and supporting the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. My twin brother and I are both on this council, and we look forward to every meeting. I specifically like that we are able to meet with students from both Rock Hill and PHS, along with Dr. Ferguson, to work towards finding solutions to problems that we face in our schools and district. I feel valued and I feel heard when I engage in these discussions at these meetings. Thank you for taking the time to hold these meetings and let me serve on this council. I have learned to discuss, to work together, to find common ground, and respect the opinions of others no matter what. I also want to express how grateful I am for the incredible teachers that I've had in school. When my family first moved to Prosper, I had just finished testing, which determined that I have dyslexia. Going into 2nd grade, I was very behind. I couldn't read, and it was very frustrating. The dyslexic therapists who worked with me taught me the skills I needed to be successful. Now, one of my favorite hobbies is reading books. I've always carried an A average in my honors English classes. This would not have been possible if it had not been for the great district where my teachers not only supported and taught me, but believed in me and literally changed my life. In college, I plan to major in elementary education. I hope to make an impact on the lives of children like teachers and admin in this district have done for me. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson and the board, for volunteering all the time that you do to tirelessly serve our community and our school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. We have a job for you too. So come on back. Come on back. We'll get you an application and just go get that college degree first. All right?
Thank you.
Right, Miss Hunt?
Okay, James Pope.
Good evening, James Pope. I do have 2 kids in the district. First, I want to thank Jeanette Church for her comments. No matter where you stand on whether or not the ISD should have a police department, it's very nice to know there's at least one officer on every campus. And the interaction that I've had with them has been amazing while I volunteered. September 13th, the board voted on an independent investigation into the bus driver. which I thought was great. It's been quite a few months. A lot of people are impatient. I'm not, because I know how investigations go. They take time. With that being said, I'm the type of person that doesn't take no for an answer, because as it was said in January 23rd, that it had been completed, but it could not be released due to ongoing litigation. On February 2nd, I put in a request through FOIA requesting a copy of the independent investigation. It was received on the 6th, and then I received a response on February 20th. I asked for a copy of it, redactions if they were needed. I felt that because of the fact that it was voted by the board itself, it should have been provided. And I also wanted legal justification if it was not provided, and so that I could take it to the Attorney General for a ruling. On the 20th, I received this, and I quote, "After a diligent search, the district was unable to locate any documents responsive to your request, and we consider this request now closed. This concerns me."
Pardon
And it made me
Sorry,
think.
Mr. Pope, could we pause the time real quick?
Can.
Could we issue a warning to Mr. Bennett? Please.
Mr. Bennett, you've been warned.
Sorry, Mr. Pope.
No, thank you. Now, it makes me think of a few things. Maybe the district does not have the actual copy of the investigation. Maybe it's with the attorneys. So then I wrote an email to each of you individually, or all together, on Friday. I haven't received a response yet, and that's okay. I understand that it was on Friday. But I'd like to know what's going on, because when you receive a response like that, it definitely raises questions. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eileen Riverside.
Hi. My name is Eileen. I have 2 children in the district, and I have 2 more that'll be coming up in the district in the next couple of years. A few of you met 2 of them today. So my daughter was on the bus driven by Mr. Frank in 2021. And in January, it was announced that the investigation was completed, and I'm following up on it. Little has been shared officially about everything that's happened, and more than 2 people were affected by this. And it's so sad that it's such a taboo topic, and we have so much that we can potentially learn from it. But one thing that came to mind, as I sat in this boardroom this morning as part of a meeting, I was sitting about where this podium was, or is. We met with Mr. Mike Leeser, who is counsel for the board. And he shared a little story that he didn't run for school board for his hometown. And he said that he didn't do it because it looked bad to him, because he was also part of the council that covers that school board, because they cover 110 different school boards across the state. But yet I find it interesting, because he was still the counsel for this board when he said that he would be an independent investigator for the first independent investigation. And it just gave me something to think about. Thank you.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
So Mike Leeser is not the counsel for the board. We actually contracted in for him to come in and provide board training. He did this last year for our board candidates, and he's not the person who's handling the litigation. That's a different law firm. Leeser Crass doesn't have anything to do with the investigation at all.
Okay. Thank you. Mike Bennett?
What's your name, Badger? What's your name, Badger? What's your name, Badger?
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. What is your name, Badger?
Tell him to remove him.
Okay, you guys can remove him, please.
Take a recess. Let's take a recess.
No, we just stay
Yeah.
right here. We're good. He can leave.
We're going to take a recess. Okay, Angela Johnson.
My name is Angela Johnson and I live in Prosper. Good evening. My name is Angela Johnson and we moved to Prosper about 9 years ago. I have 2 children at Rock Hill and 1 at Folsom Elementary. I'm also a substitute teacher in the district, and I actually graduated from college about 20 years ago with a degree in elementary education and taught briefly in Coppell. When we moved to Prosper 9 years ago, the population then was only about 14,000. Now we have almost double that enrolled in our school district. We've seen a lot of growth in the town since we've arrived. We truly love being part of that small town that had a very big heart. Back in 2014, we purchased lots of green items, lots of shirts that said Prosper 75078, that said Go Eagles, and so on. At that time, CVS was mainly our source for shirts because that was about all that we had here. With the growth of the town and the school district, there's been lots of changes. We no longer own anything green or anything that says Eagles in our closet. We now have electric blue clothing that says Rock Hill Bluehawks. The district is still growing, so next year we're going to replace those colors with navy blue and silver or gray and promote the Walnut Grove Wildcats. One color that's been constant in our closets since 2019 is yellow. We are so grateful that the district paid money to start the Hope Squad program here. I have a niece that committed suicide in another nearby district where they didn't have such a great program to help children to realize how to look for signs and how to help out each other. We're grateful for a district that provides the funds and the means to bring this to our district so that we can help encourage kindness. Thank you for allowing teachers to not only teach our children kindness, or for not only allowing teachers to teach our children academics, but to teach them kindness. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson, for leading by example and by showing up and being there for people. Thank you for the board for all that you do in supporting this great thing. We're proud to call Prosper our home.
Thank you. Okay, and now we'll hear a report from our superintendent.
Yes. A lot of great things going on in our district. So a huge highlight for us, we had a job fair, and I want to give a huge shout out to our HR department, specifically Mrs. Hunt, several of our board members. I know Ms. Dixon and Mr. Beaver stopped by, and it was incredible. The organization, the level of detail, it took a lot of people to pull it off. Obviously, to our programs and events with Ms. Brantley, making sure behind the scenes, every table and everything was set up perfectly, but it was inspiring, especially when you continue to hear teacher shortage, and to see almost 800 people show up with an interest in Prosper ISD. And so that is a great credit to you all as the board and certainly our staff. I know that they do a great job of recruiting, just like what Ms. Church had spoken about earlier. You talk to your other teacher friends and get them to come here. So we ended up with 621 people who attended the job fair, and then 48 who have already been hired. And so that's a pretty quick turnaround, and we're excited about that. I will say, maybe I shouldn't have done this, but like Liliana Elementary and Christie Elementary, the line was super long. And so I was telling some of the other principals, like, you should go to the back of the line and go talk to those people because I'm about Prosper ISD. And they were like, can I do that? And I'm like, yes, absolutely, you can do that. So obviously that addresses one of my superintendent goals for the operational areas. But I just really do want to give just a huge shout out to so many great leaders, but specifically Ms. Hunt and really everything that she did to make sure that that event was a stellar one. Because if those individuals didn't have an amazing first impression, they probably would have walked and gone somewhere else. But so many teachers with experience coming to and saying, I want to be here because my daughter works here and she told me I better get here for my grandkids. And so there's pretty cute stories that came out of that day. So wanted to share that with y'all. And then a really cool campaign that we've been doing, and it's been super fun, but a great reminder of how old I am, is recognizing our alumni. I know I said tonight that Miss Loving, Mr. Linker, and Miss Dixon were with me at Prosper High School when we honored Miss Loving, our FFA teacher. But we have over 50 graduates who have come back. So they spent 13 years with us, and they loved it so much, they came back and said, I want a job. Some of them never left. So I found an employee the other day. He's in our maintenance and operations and obviously gets to connect with a lot of people. Graduate of 1993. And so he's working in our maintenance and operation department. And so he was really excited to get his Prosper OG sign because he holds a lot of history. Miss Brantley and I were actually talking about the employee, and she said every time that they're in this room setting up, she has to tell him, quit looking at everything in the cabinets because he wants to tell her the story about everything in Prosper ISD because he knows it all. And we hope that he certainly ends his career here with us when that moment comes for him to retire. But it's been really heartwarming to see so many great educators who've come back to give back to their community, and we want more to come back. So Jocelyn, the offer still stands. All right? We want to give you an OG sign one day. So, and that certainly addresses Goal 4, communications and community partnerships, really making sure that we're fostering, taking care of that culture. I had no idea how much a sign would do for some of our people, but to be honored of where you came from and what made you and where you are now is a pretty big deal for our people. Some tears even. It was so special to them. So we love that. Love our people.
Fun day. Okay, thank you. We will now go into closed session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, including but not limited to sections 551.071, .072, .074, and .076. When we are finished with our closed session discussions, we will return to open session to take action that needs to be taken. The time is now 8:13. Okay, the time is now 9:55 PM, and we are back in open session. We are on item 13A of the agenda now to consider and take possible action regarding the hiring of contract personnel. May I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the hiring of all contract personnel as presented by administration.
Thank you, Bill. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Garrett, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And it passes unanimously. Okay, if there are no objections, the time is now 9:55 PM, and the meeting is now adjourned. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You as well.